The story begins with an ambulance driver named Russell. He had been in this profession for a long time, and today I'll share this incident in his own words. My name is Russell. I am 37 years old. I started driving an ambulance 11 years ago under Dhaka Medical College and continued for 7 years. During that time, I experienced quite a few paranormal things. But it was normal for an ambulance driver. Small, abnormal things keep happening when we carry a dead body at night, especially if that person was killed or committed suicide. But none of those incidents were terrifying enough to make me quit. Until I carried that one body. It was July 17, 2021, 11 p.m. at night. I was sleeping in my apartment with my wife. My phone started ringing, waking me up. It was a call from an acquaintance. He told me there was a dead body. The family of that dead body was looking for an ambulance. They needed to go to Barishaw. It's quite a long way from Dhaka, and it was already the middle of the night. I didn't want to drive at that hour. And we ambulance drivers always keep a helper with us, someone to keep us awake with conversation and to help with small things. But my helper wasn't around that night. He'd gone to his hometown for personal reasons. So honestly, I didn't want to take any job that night. But after a while, they called again, this time offering a lot of money. I was shocked after hearing the amount. I couldn't say no anymore. I told my wife I was going to take the job. She didn't want to let me go, but I left anyway. The money was too much to ignore. When I arrived, I saw 2 men and a woman waiting. They were the family members of the body. The woman was the aunt, and the 2 men were uncles. I still hadn't seen the body yet. After a while, they brought the body. When I saw it, a cold shiver ran down my spine. It was a girl's body. But the way she looked, how could this happen to her? She had clearly been murdered brutally. Her skin was pale, and the corners of her mouth had been sliced open, though they'd been stitched back together. Her eyes were missing, just empty, hollow sockets. It was a horrifying sight. In all my years as an ambulance driver, I had never seen a dead body like that. I asked, how did this happen? They told me, she went missing some days ago. We searched for her. We even filed a case with the police, but after a month we got a call from the police telling us to come immediately. When we arrived, we found her body like this. Her parents were shattered, so we sent them home. The doctor said she was brutally raped for a month by multiple men, then murdered recently. They threw her body into a jungle, hoping animals would eat it. But a woodcutter found it and called the police. I didn't know what to say. How could humans be so cruel? But I didn't have time to dwell on my thoughts. I had to take the body and leave. The journey was long. I asked, who is going with the body? But none of the family members were willing to come. They said they had their own car. After finishing some paperwork there, they'd follow behind and told me to go ahead first. So I did. Since I didn't have my helper, I drank some coffee before leaving and carried more with me. Dhaka City is always lively, even at night, so I had no issues on the way out. Eventually, I crossed the Padma River from Malwa and left behind the liveliness of Dhaka. Now I was driving on a dark, empty road. A car passed by only once every 20 to 30 minutes. I turned on the radio to keep myself awake. It was around 1 a.m. when the radio suddenly started acting strange. The sound cracked like it wasn't getting any signal. I turned it off. The silence that followed was unsettling. I noticed it had been over 40 minutes and not a single vehicle had passed by. I was alone, driving down a dark, empty road. All of a sudden, I felt like a shadow passed in front of the car. I quickly looked in the rearview mirror, but there was nothing. I told myself it was just my imagination, but then I heard a sound, a dull thud, like someone was hitting the back of my ambulance. At first, I tried to brush it off, but the sound grew louder, stronger. Reluctantly, I stopped the car and stepped out. What I saw froze me to the core. The entire back of my ambulance was covered in bloody handprints. It looked like someone had been slapping it over and over again. But there was no one around. The night was completely silent. I'd experienced strange things before, so I tried not to let the fear take over me. I climbed back into the driver's seat and started driving again. I turned the radio back on. It worked. For a few minutes. Then it started acting weird again. This was a modern radio. There shouldn't have been any problem. Then, a chill ran through my entire body. Through the broken static of the radio, I heard a girl's voice. Weak, in pain. in agony. She whispered, "Why did I have to die? Tell me why." I turned the radio off immediately and began reciting verses from the Quran. Not a single vehicle had passed me. It felt like I'd been pulled into a separate dimension, a place where no one could hear me scream, just so it could show me its full terror. Then I glanced at the mirror, and my blood ran cold. The body, the girl's body, it was sitting upright, facing me. Thick blood was flowing from its empty eye sockets. The stitches on her cheeks looked terrifying. My hands trembled on the steering wheel, but the horror wasn't done with me yet. Slowly, she began to undo the stitches on her face, and then she smiled at me. That smile was not human. Words can't describe the fear I felt in that moment. She started to speak. Why did I have to die? What was my fault? I didn't know what to do. My mind was spiraling. Is it going to kill me? What should I do? Should I stop the car? And then she laughed. A sound so twisted and horrifying that it crawled into my soul. It wasn't a normal laugh. I felt every ounce of terror with each sound. I closed my eyes, trembling. Slowly the laughing stopped. When I opened my eyes and looked at the mirror, she was lying there again, as if nothing had happened. But the next moment shattered everything. I saw her, that same girl, standing right in the middle of the road, bent on both hands and feet like an animal, blood dripping from her empty eye sockets, her mouth stretched into that terrifying smile. And then, someone grabbed my neck from behind. I couldn't take it anymore. My mind went blank. I felt a violent shock. When I opened my eyes, I saw the girl's family around me, splashing water on my face. I was lying on the ground, confused and disoriented. Then everything came rushing back. My ambulance had crashed into a tree beside the road. They told me that when they arrived with their car, they saw a crowd gathered. When they came closer, they found me there. Some men had already pulled me out of the ambulance. I told them everything I'd seen. They looked at me confused and said, "What are you talking about? The body is still in the ambulance. You must have hallucinated." But I know what I saw. It was real. Very real. After that, I insisted that one of the relatives ride with me. Seeing my condition, one of the men agreed. Nothing happened after that. We reached the destination safely. They paid me handsomely. But after returning home, I kept having nightmares for days. I couldn't continue being an ambulance driver anymore. I never wanted to face that terror again. But a few days later, I saw the news. 3 men had been caught by the police for raping and brutally murdering a girl. The person who shared this story is an ethnic miner. His name is Jay Barua. His village is located in the hilly region where they grow tea and make a living. But to reach this point, they had to go through real horror. Even now, the elderly people fear one name. Just hearing that name shakes them to their core, the name Kutuki. About 50 years ago, his village was full of illiterate people. The people of his tribe weren't very friendly with outsiders. They liked to live among themselves and didn't want to accept anyone from outside. Around that time, the government wanted to help them by building a tea farm. Some of the villagers understood that the government was trying to help, but some stayed loyal to their old values and refused to let any outsiders in. They believed the government people came to take over their land. But the government officials proved that they only came to help the people there. Eventually, some villagers started supporting them. Little by little, all of the villagers agreed to help the government with their work. But there was one man who didn't accept it. He was the leader of the tribe. People called him Shaju. Seeing his people disobeying him made him furious, and he blamed the government for everything. After losing his people and his power, his anger grew even stronger. He wanted revenge on everyone, so he began learning many dark arts and rituals. He was studying ancient black magic. His goal was to summon a powerful evil being that could destroy everyone living in the village, especially the government officials. One day, he learned about Kutuki from an ancient book. But there was a problem. The consequences were too big. Whoever summons Kutuki is destined to be killed by her. There's only a slim chance of survival, but the summoner must agree to live as her slave. He made his choice. He decided he would sacrifice himself by summoning her and destroy both the villagers and the government people. He sent his family far away and told them never to return to the village again, because he knew this place would soon become a land of death. After sending them away, Shaju began his rituals. He continued for 3 days, but still had no luck. So he decided to go to a shamshan, a place where Hindu people burn the bodies after someone's death. He continued the ritual there for 2 more nights, and finally, he succeeded. It was a very dark night. In that horrifying shamshan, in the middle of the night, Shaju was performing his ritual with a bonfire in front of him. All of a sudden, a storm began. The trees were about to be uprooted, but not a single breeze touched Shaju's body. Then a female voice came from the fire. "Who dared to summon me? How dare you? I will tear your body apart and eat your flesh." Shaju fell to his knees and started begging her to listen. Kutuki allowed him to speak. He explained why he summoned her. Kutuki said, "Very well, I will massacre them, but I will keep you as my slave. You will do as I say. You cannot say no to anything." Shaju never thought he'd be allowed to live. He agreed to do anything she wanted. Then she emerged from the fire, wearing a flaming attire, her entire body made of fire. Her eyes were burning. Shaju returned home from there. The next morning, people discovered something horrifying. They found a body near the place where the government people were staying. The body was burned to ashes. Only bones were left. It belonged to a man who had gone out at night to pee and never returned. His ID card was found near the remains. From that day on, people kept finding bodies burned like that all over the village. The police tried investigating, but couldn't find anything. Whoever went out alone at night never came back home. One night, Kutuki came to Shaju and demanded that she wanted to eat half-burnt human flesh from a Hindu cremation. This was a difficult task because the Hindus would never allow him to take half-burnt remains of one of their dead. But somehow Shaju managed to get it and gave it to Kutuki. After that, she continued killing people in the village. Some villagers started leaving out of fear. Many government officials were already dead. A few days later, Kutuki came to Shaju again and demanded he sacrifice 2 male goats for her. This time, it was easy for him, so he did it. Things continued like this. People stopped going out at night. Nobody dared to step outside their house after dark, so Kutuki started disguising herself as a beggar and knocking on people's doors. Whoever opened it was burned to death. When family members heard the victim screaming, they rushed over, only to find them burning alive, screaming in unbearable pain. Even though they threw water on them, the fire wouldn't go out. This went on for days. People wouldn't even open their doors at night anymore. Then one day, Kutuki went to Shaju again and demanded something no father would ever want to hear. Kutuki said, "I want to eat your daughter." Hearing this, Shaju started begging her not to do it. But Kutuki said, "You are my slave. You will do as I command. If you don't, I'll kill you and your entire family. You have only 10 days to bring your daughter to me." After that, Kutuki left. Shaju fell to his knees and cried. He regretted everything he had done. He decided to tell the villagers the truth, and when he did, the villagers became furious and wanted to kill him. They beat him up badly, but one of the elders stopped them. The elder said, "Since Shaju is the one who summoned her, we need him to get out of this horror." After that, they went in search of an expert folk exorcist, and they actually found one. The exorcist came to their village, and the moment he stepped in, he felt the immense pressure and the evil surrounding the place. He knew it wouldn't be easy dealing with Kutuki. He tried calling her through many dark rituals, but Kutuki never responded. He even sent out his jinns to capture her by force, but none of them returned. He had many powerful jinns, yet all of them died by her hand. So the exorcist went to his master for advice. His master said that long ago a folk exorcist had fought against Kutuki but couldn't fully defeat her. If you want to save the village, the master said, you have to remove the source. The exorcist looked confused and asked, "The source?" His master explained, "Yes, the source. Since Shaju summoned her, he is the source. If he leaves the village, Kutuki can't enter. She uses him as her anchor to reach the village." The exorcist returned and told the villagers everything. They forced Shaju to leave the village. After that day, nobody saw Shaju again. But the police later found 4 burned bodies in a house, probably Shaju, his wife, and his children. Kutuki is still out there somewhere. Who knows where she will unleash her wrath again? I am from a small rural farming community in the central part of Wisconsin. Firstly, I would like to add, I was never a huge believer in myths and legends of the forest. I would always seem to have a reasonable conclusion for every noise and critter I ever encountered while out camping and hunting. I am not an easily frightened person either, until that one bitter cold wintry night. Me and my older brother were leaving our family's dairy farm after nighttime barn chores, traveling back to our parents' house about 15 miles away. The farm sits on an old backcountry dirt road with really no other civilization around for miles, as my family owns that entire block of land. There is never anyone out there, especially at night, and especially being as cold as it was. It was definitely well below zero that night. We got to the end of the road, nearing a stop sign that led onto another backcountry road. As we inched up to the stop sign, I was messing with the tapes to put in the radio of the car, and my brother was having small talk about the bitter cold temperatures, the trying day we had on the farm, and what the following days would bring. I was mostly looking down in my lap at the tapes for song options. We were in an old 1980s, 1990s Mercury car that was handed down from my late grandfather to my brother. The headlights and everything about that car weren't the greatest, besides the heater, radio, and AC, which worked fine. We got stopped at this stop sign, and he glanced both ways, looking for oncoming headlights. I thought to myself, there's never traffic on this road. After glancing for oncoming traffic and finally having the radio going on a low tune, we set off slowly onto the ice and snow-covered roads, continuing small talk between us. We got about 200 yards from the stop sign when we came on thick and dark pine forest on both sides of us. We never thought anything about it. We passed it every day. Nothing looked odd, abnormal, or out of place besides the snowbanks, which were higher from the snowblower pushing more snow off the roads earlier. I was actually surprised they even plowed it. Normally we were plowed in for days after a big storm. We went on a little further and came upon this huge pine tree that always stuck out because it had an old "No Trespassing" sign on it, so naturally it always caught my eye as the headlights reflected off of it. But that time, something else caught my eye on the tree. It was something just below the sign. The sign stood about 10 or so feet above the ground on the tree. This thing that caught my eye was just under that sign. It was definitely an animal. As I zoned in on it more, I realized it definitely was not a deer. It was black. Initially, I thought it was a black bear, but it was way too cold for a black bear. They should be hibernating that time of the year and in those temperatures. I looked harder, and as the car headlights inched closer, I saw it had a flat face, sort of like a human's. It had a nose like a human, and the eyes were either not there or so sunk in that the light of the headlights could not reach them. It had long fingers like a person, but much, much longer. It had scruffy fur, and I have never seen an animal like such. I freaked out and told my brother to drive and go faster. He did not see the animal, or whatever that thing really was. He drove up to the next road about a mile up the way, and he wanted to turn around to go investigate it. I begged him not to, as I was practically sobbing in tears and trembling in fear with all the hairs on my body standing straight up. My brother told me I was as white as a ghost, and he knew I had definitely seen something that scared me. But he did not listen to my pleas for him not to turn around. He turned around and slowly inched up to the spot where I spotted the weird creature. As he inched further and further with the car lights shining up onto the tree, I was curled in my seat, refusing to look because I did not think I could bear to see the creature again. After a minute, he realized whatever or whoever was there was no longer there, and I had this overwhelming sense something was watching us. He sped off and went the opposite way home that night. The car ride was full of quietness, and my head was filled with many unanswered questions after I explained to my brother what I had seen. I'm sure he had questions as well. Or maybe he was questioning if it was just my imagination based on how quiet he was. I could not tell myself that night, or the following weeks after that, what animal it actually was. It stuck with me, and I thought about it randomly for a long time after I had that very strange and unsettling encounter. I definitely did my research throughout the years, and I never found a scientific explanation for it. I even spent a small time telling myself someone's oversized pet monkey escaped, and that's what I saw. I told myself it was a bear. I told myself it was a prank someone was pulling. I tried telling myself many things to settle the fear I had and to give myself a reasonable explanation for what it may have been. But deep down, I know I still have no answers to what I saw. 15 years later, it lives rent-free in the back of my mind every time I step foot into the wilderness. We truly never know what is actually out there, and the wilderness is an unforgiving and untamed land that we claim to understand. But really, we do not. I still do not drive past that tree on that road after dark, and every time I do drive past during the daylight hours, I get an unforgiving shiver down my spine. What truly was it, and when will it be seen again? If you ever find yourself driving down a dark, empty road, remember, not everything you see can be explained. What do you think that creature was? Let me know in the comments. And if you enjoy stories like this, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more chilling encounters.